Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to do something a little bit different. You see, the Warhammer Fantasy IP was rather large, a huge scale tabletop game, an extensive library of books, and a decent number of video games. Some were absolutely fantastic, whilst others, well, not so much. Now, during this worldwide lockdown, I found myself revisiting many of these older titles purely out of nostalgia's sake, and there are others that I still actively play to this day. Having a trip down memory lane inspired this video, the top 5 best Warhammer Fantasy video games, so without further ado, let's begin. For our 5th spot, we have Warhammer Age of Reckoning, an MMORPG set in the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe. This was the Warhammer alternative to World of Warcraft, where it was claimed that this would be the famous WoW killer. As we are all aware, Age of Reckoning did not do such a thing, but let's not get into that. Warhammer Age of Reckoning launched in September 2008 to a decent amount of active players, much to the surprise of many considering the fact that at this point, Games Workshop weren't really promoting their product outside of the tabletop world, or at least they weren't doing such a good job at it, and the game suffered because of it. But that being said, despite its 5-year lifespan, the MMO was quite fun to play. The playable world itself was decently sized, you had the choice of 2 unique factions to join, each with 3 unique playable races. On the side of Order, you have the humans of the Empire of Man, the Dwarfs, and the High Elves. Whilst on the side of Destruction, you had the Dark Elves, the Warriors of Chaos, and the Greenskins, also known as Orcs and Goblins. Further to this, what race you decided on picking also determined your class too, so your in-game playstyle and role was highly dependent on what race you decided to pick. The biggest drawback for Age of Reckoning, however, was its questing system. Questing in Age of Reckoning was rather uninspired and got boring very quickly. It felt more like a grind, very similar to how vanilla World of Warcraft used to play. But people didn't play Age of Reckoning for its questing system. Instead, what attracted the player base was the massive amount of upscale battles, where literal armies of players would attack or defend respective lands and capitals. Dated as this game was, the player versus player system was nothing short of amazing, and it is a big reason why this game is so fondly remembered by the player base. As I've stated before, this game has now been long dead, having officially closed down its servers in 2013. But I'm not going to list a game here that you're not going to be able to play, especially if you're interested in trying it out. There is a private server known as Return of Reckoning which continues on the legacy that Age of Reckoning left behind. This is one I used to frequent quite often, and I'll be very honest, after talking about this, I might have to download it once again. The server is completely free, it's very stable, and it's community driven. Honestly, it's what you expect from Warhammer fans. Moving on to our 4th spot, we have Warhammer Chaosbane. Chaosbane is a must-have for anyone who enjoys dungeon crawler type games. Those who are fans of the famously known Blizzard franchise Diablo would absolutely love this, especially in a Warhammer setting. The Empire of Man is in peril and you must fight your way through unspeakable horrors in an effort to save it. Each playable class is extremely customizable, so you're almost guaranteed to find every possible playstyle. The storyline itself is rather fun and engaging and you will become rather invested into it, but be warned, as this game is a dungeon crawler, it does get rather repetitive. Although there is a decent amount of different enemies to fight, especially with new DLC recently released, so it's not like you're going to be bored doing the same thing over and over. My only real criticism with this game is it just feels like the voice acting isn't too good. There are some characters, specifically Teclis, whose voice just seems way too off to be considered an elf. But with all that considered, it is a very fun game and it is very highly recommended. And just to make it easier for anyone who may be interested, you can find Warhammer Chaosbane on Xbox, PlayStation 4 and on PC. For our 3rd spot, we have Warhammer Mark of Chaos, a real-time tactics game set straight after the Great War against Chaos. Mark of Chaos has been recently unfairly judged to be a poor man's Total War. But really, both games are drastically different. Whereas Total War Warhammer is a very sandbox game, Mark of Chaos itself is more focused towards a narrative, focused around chapter-based storylines and adding a bit of role-playing elements when creating armies and kitting out your characters. The game itself is rather basic, so the trailer that you see on the screen isn't really what you should expect. It is rather basic, more throwing your armies directly into your enemy rather than focusing on tactics, but the storyline elements are really what's worth the playthrough here. Yeah, the voice acting might not be too great and the game does look horribly dated, but it is quite fun. But this is set in a period of fantasy history where the Empire was almost completely destroyed, but also the Chaos Hordes were shattered too, so two big names in the fantasy universe were pretty much almost completely broken. An expansion known as Warhammer Battle March was also released, which added in the Dark Elves and the Greenskins as playable races. Both games come as one pack if you purchase it now through Good Old Games. It's not that expensive to be honest, so if you're interested in storyline and lore, I do highly recommend picking this one up. Now for our second spot we have Warhammer Vermintide, the whole series. We're going to put Game 1 and Game 2 together because they're pretty much the same thing. What happens when you get an amazing franchise like the Left 4 Dead series and you cross it with a Warhammer Fantasy universe? You get 5 unique playable characters, each with different branching career paths, leading to a massive amount of player customization and a seemingly endless horde of enemies, Skaven, Beastmen and Warriors of Chaos, all charging at you from multiple directions. This is one of the best hack and slash games I've ever played. Don't expect rich storytelling in this game, but rather just throw yourself into the thick of it and start doing damage. Team up with a group of 3 other friends or match up with a matchmaking system and see if you can work together as a team as you get a number of objectives done and make your way from point A to point B. There is a rather large amount of very unique enemies, so you're always kept on your toes. The game also has a lot of replayability due to its random nature, mainly because the enemies itself, the specific unique enemies, will spawn at random locations and you won't always get the same enemy spawning, so you'll never be truly prepared to know what's coming. The Vermintide series is available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and on PC. Before we jump onto our first spot, an honourable mention must be given. Mordheim, the City of the Damned, a reimagining of the tabletop game of the same name, and honestly it plays rather similar to it too. Here you'll be in command of a warband of a specific race or faction, fighting along the streets of Mordheim as you collect Weirdstone, a valuable resource which seems to be becoming quite scarce throughout the city of Mordheim at the moment. As you progress through the missions, you'll be gaining forms of currency. With this currency, you can upgrade the size of your warband and also switch out the equipment that your warband currently uses. So you'll be able to tailor your warband specifically to your playstyle. It is important to note that each of the playable warbands, either base game or DLC, play drastically different from each other, so you will get a decent amount of replayability here. Don't expect a fast-paced game from this. This is a tactical role-playing game. They can be quite slow and it is very much inspired by the tabletop, so the matches can last around maybe 15 to 20 minutes plus. But all in all, it is very fun and I really should complete my campaign at some point. Now for our first spot, we have, as you guys would have probably guessed considering the nature of my channel, Total War Warhammer, the whole series. The Total War Warhammer series is probably the biggest effort that's ever gone into a Warhammer inspired video game. We're currently 2 out of 3 games into the series and it doesn't look like anything's gonna slow down anytime soon. With new DLC being released every 4 months or so, this game keeps getting bigger and bigger. This is the ultimate Warhammer Fantasy, or just Warhammer game in general. It features almost the whole Warhammer Fantasy world and almost every single playable race from the tabletop reimagined into a digital format. This is a tactical sandbox game which gives you complete control as soon as you start off a new campaign. It is one of Creative Assembly's best-selling games so far, and has been so widely popular it's led to a massive amount of fans demanding the return of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the tabletop game. Despite this game series already being 4 years old, and the second game itself being 3 years old, it still attracts tens of thousands of players on Steam every day. And those numbers drastically spike up every time a new round of content is released. It doesn't look like this series is going to slow down for a long time now, especially since we're getting closer and closer to the release of Total War Warhammer 3. Given the amount of unique playable races and factions, it's very easy to see why so many players have hundreds if not thousands of hours into the series already. I myself am running over 3,000 hours into the series and I'm still nowhere near getting bored. And even then, with a 4-month content drought after every release, there are so many talented modders out there who are creating their own special forms of content here. New campaign overhauls, new races, new factions, everything you can imagine. Honestly, if you're watching this on my channel and you don't have the Total War Warhammer series just yet, buy it as soon as you can. Honestly, you're not going to regret it. But that was our top 5 list on the best Warhammer fantasy games of all time. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. I know there are a few other games that people would have liked to see mentioned here, such as maybe Shadow of the Horned Rat or Dark Omen, and to be very honest, I was going to include them at some point too, but there are so many good choices in terms of games in the Warhammer fantasy setting that it was really hard to actually make this list. exist. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different links to social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using our special link and also using our special code, both of which are in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to our patron Edward Huell for subscribing to us at our King level. Mate, you're super awesome. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.